Well, welcome to Watercolor Studio 42, and I've been away for a little while, so probably what's been running is some of my paintings of birch trees. But what's coming up is the Winter Festival downtown, and a little bit later in March we've got the flower show at the Attleboro Arts Museum. So having said that, I'm going to kind of get into loosening up today with some flowers. The thing is, when you draw, you don't hold the pencil like you would writing. I find that if I hold the pencil like on an angle, I can use most of my elbow down to my fingertips and kind of loosen up. And I kind of compare myself to like being a conductor, you know, symphony orchestra, but it's the movement, it's the flow that I try to emphasize about the drawing. The thing is, if you keep your drawing loose, then you can paint it a little freer too. What I normally do is start with the biggest brush I have. I usually paint the background in, a little bit of the background, and then I do the what's green, you know, some of the leaves, and my finishing touches would be to place a little bit of attention on the flowers. They usually say, you know, in a bouquet to have an uneven number. This happens to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roses, so that's sticking with the rules. And the lady that made this arrangement, she is a florist. These are artificial flowers. And this is from one of the annual art shows, not an art show, I should say, annual meetings that we have at the Taunton Art Association. And she's the one that does all the centerpieces. Her name is Sis Denson. And she does all of these arrangements for the tables. And then the lucky person that would like to have one to take home, I guess they draw numbers or whatever it is, and you can take one home. So I'll start right in. Again, I mentioned I start with the biggest brush that I have, right handy now. It can be a round brush, or you can use a flat brush. And all I do is just dash a little bit of water onto the paper, just regular water, clean water, and just put it around the outer contours here, and even a little bit down on towards the bottom. Now, as a rule, I start from the top and work from the top, and then I'll do the bottom while I'm letting the top dry, and then finish it off with the rest of the middle area, and the detail. In this case, I'm going to start off with the background. Now, the flowers here, roses, they're sort of a light white, pinkish color, a little bit of dash of orange. And the thing is that where the flowers are lighter, you can make the background a little bit darker than usual. So the studio background here is a little bit dark, and so I'm going to start off not with black, but I'm going to just put a pinch of blue into my Payne's Gray and see what we have. It's going to be a darker background than normal. So I'm going to start around here. And I've already wet the paper, so the wash, that's what they call it. You put a wash in, and you can kind of wiggle around and paint that kind of free and loose here. Now, it's going on a little bit lighter. I can always go a little bit darker. I've been emphasizing lately with my classes to kind of bring the values out a little sharper, you know. Value is talking from light white to a darker color. So I've been emphasizing that, because what happens with watercolor, when it dries a lot lighter, maybe 10 to 15 degrees lighter. So that's why I do that. Now I'm going to bring this down into here today, paint into the corners a little bit. And if you want the edges to be soft, you just have to kind of spread the paint out a little bit here. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. All right, something like that. And I'm going to try to keep it as loose as I can, if that's possible. Usually with a still life like flowers, I usually I start with the background, the wash, and then I come in and do the green first, drop some of the green color in, and then finish up with the flower itself. So having said that, I get the background in, and I can go a lot darker if I need to. I got to kind of pay attention to keeping my my colors a little bit stronger contrast, because sometimes when my pictures dry out, I look at it the next morning or day, holy cow, it's so much lighter than what I intended it to be. So in that case, you just have to go over it with another coat of paint and work in some darker shades. The beauty of watercolor is that you can reactivate the color with just by moistening it. Water. Put water on it, you can reactivate the paint. I've got sort of a kind of a false border around here. I put the tape on the inside, so the border is going to be the width of the tape. And I've been doing that lately because I haven't taken the time to put the mat, the actual mat over my artworks, because some of my mats get kind of messed up and they don't look so well with the picture. So this way I can do it a little faster. Okay, so I've got this wash in the background, looks okay for now. And I'm going to start in with some green. So I don't have green on my palette, so I have to take some yellow. And I think I'm going to use a little bit of ultramarine. And I use my other color is phthalo blue, and of course ultramarine is a little bit darker. So now wherever I see a little bit of green, this is going to be kind of wet in the wet, so it's going to look a little bit smudgy, but that's okay. You know, we have the flower show coming up in March, and we're in the middle of January right now, but you know the time flies very fast, and pretty soon that's upon us. Spring is on the way, I guess. Some people say that it can't get here fast enough because we had some real cold spells lately. Let's dash some little bit of green into here, kind of pretty much where it's located. It gets real dark, usually a darker color underneath because there's a lot of shadow down around the bottom. Now sometimes I do the whole length of the vase, put the vase in, but here I'm emphasizing just the upper part of the flowers and probably just showing a little bit of the opening of the neck of the vase, maybe down. I'll show a little bit down here near the bottom. Kind of have it fade away though. Okay, now I'm putting some green in there, but you know, I can come back and you can add coats and coats of paint, one on top of the other here. And so I'm going to just start dropping a little bit of darker green where it's a shadow down in here. Let's see if I can keep it a little bit loose. I tell everybody, you know, to hold the brush a little bit out like this, like a conductor, but you can also hold it. Don't hold it way down near the tip because that makes it real tight. But you can hold it back here always, and you can still keep it kind of loose. I'm just dashing in some darker shades into the green. Green into green here. Okay. You see how that kind of gives it a little bit of a boost there. And let's put a little bit of darker shade right up under here on this side, kind of counterbalance it with a little bit of green off here. You don't see quite as much, but just a little bit. And the the leaves or the stems and so forth, they can go right to the edge of the paper. Why I do that a lot of times, so you don't have a large space around the flower, you know, the bouquet and so forth. If you touch the edge, you kind of block an area there, and I usually hit the edge once, maybe twice, and maybe at least 3 times I'm hitting the edge. Off here, over here, and like a triangle. And so I could give that a little bit of a rest right now. I'm looking around to see what else. Now, it gets really deeper. It gets really a deeper color. I'm going to just use a little bit of more paint gray into my ultramarine. I'm combining, I use ultramarine blue along with my phthalo blue. So it's kind of a warm and a cool color. But the thing is, if you don't want it to be too much green, you can just add a little bit of blue into the green. And that really perks it up quite a bit more. Yeah, there you go. A little bit in there, a little bit here where the under shadow would be. Right around in here. I kind of jump around a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. That's looking good. Now the thing is, it's hard to imagine this, but the looser you can paint, you know, don't get uptight when you paint. Is that if you can paint loose, to me, it's more like a relaxed watercolor. The thing is, you don't want to get too uptight and paint one area and wear it out, you know. So I kind of jump around when I paint. Okay, there you go. Now, I'm letting this set up a little bit. You can't get too fussy with it too soon. You know, like if I put these little things that sprout out, spread out, even they can kind of touch the edge of your paper here. I usually, well, what we have here is 3. So I got one going that way. I could put another one over here if I want to break up this space, and I got a third something over there. Now, even though I'm somewhat using this as a reference, this particular bouquet, it's a beautiful arrangement. It's very graceful. But the thing is that I don't always have to stick with it. I can change things, I can put things in, I can leave things out. For the most part, I think I sometimes tend to leave out more than I put in. It might be the time factor, you know, you can't get too bogged down and fussy. You have to be able to work within the time frame that you have to do it. So sometimes that's okay. Sometimes maybe one should slow down in certain areas. But I think some of my best paintings have been where I've been looser and more spontaneous with not getting too uptight about detail and how to try to make it look like exactly like what's there. We're not a camera. We can't possibly take a picture. That would be nice if we could. That would make life easier, wouldn't it? But the thing is that you have to kind of interpret things that you see in there. Certain things will jump out. Now, the white, in this case, of these lighter shades of the petals on some of the roses, that's the white of the paper. And if you want the white to be, or show up whiter, then what you do is the background color around that particular area you want to show up as white. You just have to paint that darker. And so it's a darker contrast. It's a darker background against the white of the paper. And you look at it and say, wow, that's pretty good. But it's because it's darker in the background that brings out that the white of the paper more. This particular paper is not like white. It's a sort of an off white, like maybe like an ivory Sometimes they call it an elephant shade, referring to the elephant's, the tusk. In other words, that type of, like an ivory type of color. Okay, now, where are we? I'm really talking because I want to let some of this dry. If I let it dry, then I can almost control, the paint will kind of stay where I want it to go, see? But if you keep painting wet in the wet, it's going to just keep spreading out and probably, if anything, get lighter and so forth, and definitely lose its shape. I just put a little more blue in there, a little touch up in here, just to kind of distribute the color. Okay, now, having said all of that, I think I can come back and start working on kind of the inner color of the flowers. So I could stick with a big brush. Sometimes I use one brush for the whole painting, but I have to make sure I clean the brush off so it's not kind of contaminated with the previous color. Now I'm going to take some red. This is a sort of almost a fire truck red here. And again, if you dilute it down with water, you can get sort of a soft pink color. And that's what we have in here. Right up in this particular flower, you get some pink in there. I say particular flower, it's a rose. So you could dash some of that in there. And in this flower here, it has just a little pinch of more of orange into that. Let's see if I can capture that particular color. It's in here. This one has a little bit more color in there. This one over here is quite a bit. And I'm doing it very soft. And by the way, you notice I'm holding in my right hand piece of paper towel, because I can come back in and blot that, and that brings out some of the highlight on the color that I applied. So you can hit it with a paper towel. This one's stronger. This one over here is a stronger pinkish orange. Make it a little darker in there. This one has a little bit more color to it also. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know what I did. I left out some of the white ones. They're in here somewhere, and I've got this one out here. That's something like that. So I have to be careful. Sometimes I'll sketch it out, and then I don't stay within the lines. So I kind of have to deviate a little bit here. But we can always soften that up. Soften some of that out. I think a lot of times when you paint flowers, we tend to leave a little bit of a hard line in there. And really on the petals, all it is just a soft wash. Just dropping some water with some color in it. Something like this, a little bit like this. Just take some of those edges off. There you go. I can always sharpen it up. I can always define it a little bit more. But in the beginning, you're just kind of dropping some color on the paper. Okay, let's see. The vase is, I kind of make it sort of an off gray. Just put a little bit of texture in there. You don't need to do too much with that. Just a little bit of a hint. And just a little bit of color. And I have to keep in mind, I usually put some arrows on the tape just to remind myself where the light source is. So in this case, the light's coming from left to right for the most part. At least that's what I'm going to do with it. Sometimes when you have overhead lighting, there's not much shadow, only on the upper part, and shadow probably underneath if the light's above. The light's coming in from the left side, the shadow's on the right. Light coming in from the right, shadows fall to the left. But shadows are very important too, to kind of give it a little bit more body. Okay, now where are we? Where do we go next? Let's see, I'm looking around here. All right, I think I can do something more. You know what I do a lot of times? I come back in and I add a little bit more of the pencil drawing into this. So you can't always get away from the pencil as much. At least I don't. Sometimes I come back in and do a little bit more drawing just to break it up. There you go, something like that. And sometimes it's just a matter of taking a little smaller brush and just putting some little wedges in there to separate, you know, the leaves and the petals and so forth. I'll show you how that works. Let's use a little darker shadow in there. I don't want to pick up too much, don't make it too much blue, so I have to put a little bit more yellow into the blue to kind of make it turn greener again. But what I'm talking about wedges is just dropping some darker color. Oh, I need it to be darker than that. Let's put some of that in. Well, push some little wedges of paint up into here, some of that darker value, just to separate some of the leaves. Now, I don't draw completely around a solid line around everything, outlining, but what I do is put a little bit of a darker shade here, and then pick it up down here, and where I haven't put the line closed in, it kind of automatically closes in with your, when you look at it, see how it's separated. But I like that idea. It's called closure, that's what it is. So you drop something in here, pull it back, so it looks more like that shadow. It's like a shadow in there, but see how you can bring out some of the shape of the leaf. Just a little bit of wedge of color there. And again, being a shadow, I just make sure I soften the edge out, pull it out like that. It's kind of, but see how I'm separating the flowers, but not the flowers, but the leaves that way. Down here, you can have a little bit of a ripple if you want to break that up. I didn't draw it, but you can paint it in. Again, you can't leave the double edge, so I have to take and soften the bottom out and pull that down into here. See how it's reacting. Up in here, there's a little bit of, not just a flat color in there, but let's see what I'm doing with that. Yeah, put a little wedge up in there, break that up, or something like this. Doesn't have to be precise, but just to break it up. Sometimes I just drop some little drops of paint in there. Let's see, I'm going to cut into here a little bit, make that a little bit deeper here. And because that's drying out now, that's going to hold its shape. Or hopefully it does. I don't know. Sometimes I'll say something and the paint has another idea. It wants to go somewhere else. So, like, let's say if I wanted this to be more of a shape of a leaf, I just darken around here and pull that down away from that. See how I put that leaf shape back in there? Just take it, go around the corner a little bit. You put that shape back in. I'm going to pull that down a little bit more. Soften that out more. But that's just suggesting. Now, if I want some of these little leaves, see how that's just a smudge? Let's do this. Let's put a little wedge of dark here. Probably a little bit of dark back there. Just like a little arrow shape. Point there. And just soften that out up into here. Just pull it kind of back out into there. And see how you can see the top shape of that leaf there? Okay, now I want it to come to a point out here. Okay, something like this. And just have it come back towards the flower. See how you've got a shape of a leaf there. Now, if the leaf doesn't look leafy enough, you can kind of come back. And what this has is it has some little sharp edges like sawtooth edges, so somehow you can put those back in, suggest them like that on the side. It's a little bit too wet right now to kind of control it, so I'm going to let that dry out. If you want to make something go to a point, just bring the brush out and lift up, and you can make the leaf have more of a pointed edge to it. But see, you can see how that works. What else? Down in here. Let's drop some, I like that idea. Let's do this. Let's break this up in here. Just push some color up into there, just a little wedge. And again, just pull this back down. So it looks like just a shadow in there. I'll show you how you make that vase show up too a little bit later. You don't even have to do anything to the vase itself. It's just the background that you have to make darker, and boom, it's like magic. The vase shows up. So it's kind of fun. So far, I think I'm okay. I seem to be kind of a little bit loose out here. Now I'm going to, let's see, I want to show a couple of leaves up in here. Just a shape. Now this is going to be drier, so let's see what happens if I do this. Put a little wedge, and then there's another one. There's another petal or something off out in here. Okay, so I'm just going to take this now and just pull the paint away from that. Pull it back up into near the into the tape. Just have this showing. Just to have a little bit of a contrast in there. You can see how it brings out those petals, whatever they are. Just erase it up into here. And just have it kind of fade off into the background. I probably need a larger brush, but see how that you can see the little leaves in back there. There's another little shape back here too. Might as well show that one. Bring that out. That goes up into here. Just a suggestion of it. There you go. See how that kind of comes out. Wherever I want to put back, this looks like a little smudge, so let's give it a little bit more detail. Make it kind of bring that out to a point more. If I don't like that so much, I can erase it. Just take the water and just erase some of that. You don't need so much of that in there. Okay, now what we want to do is define some of the petals in here, right? And I'm still going to come back. I'm going to show a little bit more of the maybe shadow in there. But let's work on this one for a little bit. Now, I can come back into my pink I had, and this is, hopefully it's dry. Yep, it's dry. So now I can put some little wedges in here. Just put some wedges of color, dark color. And again, treat it as if it's like a piece of soft velvet material. No real hard edges. See how I'm kind of erasing all of that, but just making some little dark wedges in there. And let's put a little wedge into here. That's dark, pretty dark, but you can lighten that up. Just put some water on your brush here and take some of that out. Of course, it always dries lighter anyway, so you don't really have to worry about it. But just to be on the safe side, let's blot it. Let's blot it down a bit, quiet it down. That's a little bit, probably more intense than I wanted it to be, so I'm still going to kind of pull some of that paint back out. But see how you're making some of those little wedges in there for the petal? Something else in here. Oops. Put some more paint on the brush. Maybe something soft in there. Be careful about hard edges. Just erase some of the edges. So you're bringing out that flower in there. Now, if you wanted to spend a lot of time, and had a lot of time, you could probably draw that a little bit better. You could probably go into it a little bit fussy and try to show the shapes of the petals perfect. But seeing that we don't have a lot of time, we just kind of put in maybe another wedge here. Oops, Probably have to go a little darker. Yeah, definitely. A little bit too light. But just another little wedge in there. Where else? Oh, no, I'm going to leave that. Let's just make this a little bit darker here. But I'm going to leave that whiter down in there. I don't like that shape. I'm going to spread it around a bit. I guess that looks better, but maybe it might be too much. Let's clean it up, lighten it up. Okay. You have to kind of add some of the little mechanics to this. Now, I'm going to let that one set for a while and come back to it, maybe add some softer pinks out on the outer edges. We'll see what we need to do. Let's try this one here. This one here has a little bit more orange in the red on the inside, and that shape, like you just put that in like this, like that, and it's the edges are hard all the way around it. So here's what you have to do. You have to kind of pull some of that edge away and kind of soften it quite a bit in here. Now, if you want to show some highlight, there's a little bit of highlight in there on that left corner right in here. So what I do is hit that, blot it with a towel, and that lightens that up. It might be a little bit too noticeable right now, but let's add some other little shapes of the petal. Let's put a little wedge in there. We can, and it'll show a little bit more of the outer contour of that. Just pull that back, but make some wedges into here. Just some soft things. More suggestive than anything. There's supposed to be some white flowers in here, and the only way I can bring the shape back is to go like this. Put a little bit of dark around here, and just show some of that shape. See how I'm pulling it out? Show there's a little bit of white there. Maybe show a little bit, excuse me, a little bit more on the top, just to show where the top of the petal is, and then pull that back. That's going to be more suggestive than anything. Let's take that, see if I can put a soft wash in there, like a shadow. Now, this is not coming out too good right now. So let's jump down to this one, and this one here, I'm going to treat it similar to the one I did up at the top. I'm going to put a little bit more into here. This is going to have to be another pink flower, I guess. Maybe I can still leave a little bit of white there, I'm not sure. Sometimes you have to improvise. Change it a little bit. If you don't show anyone the bouquet, they'll never know, will they? They won't know. That's the worst thing you can do, is bring out a photograph of what you painted and this. That doesn't look like it. No, I guess it probably, by the time you get through, it probably won't look exactly like a photograph. But you're using a photograph as just kind of a little bit of a reference to get the idea of the flower. I'm doing this one over here now, the one up over on the lower right. Just wiggle the brush around, sort of like a little bit of a swirl in there. But having said that, I got to take those edges away and I'm going to push them out here, because that's softer color pink over in this area. Just take those edges off. Now, I'm doing a lot less detail than you normally would. Like I said before, you could spend a lot of time and try to be more precise with everything that you're working with. But then you're talking about 2-hour painting, not within an hour. We'll do what we can here. I'm going to have to take some of this, soften some of the edges out here. where I want to make an indenture for the petals, kind of bring that out a little bit more. And this is coming out halfway decent and through here. Okay, now, we can put some, you can actually put some baby's breath in there too. Sometimes I just use, if you want to put baby's breath in there, you just put some little specks down in here. Kind of just hit it speckle it with the brush. Something like this. You could do it sometimes with a sponge or some other type of material. Just put a little bit of that in there. And we can repeat some of that baby's breath. Just put some specks up in the air. Like that. Just give it a little bit of texture there. I've got to do something more with this. I got to come back in. I'm going to do something with a pencil here. See if I can reshape that. Have it swing in here. And then there's sort of like something else showing underneath, a little bit of zigzag there. But if I put in, make the background darker, I don't have to paint anything. I just paint on the outside of that what I've done. See how you can make it show up out there? And but you have to remember, pull that paint back before it can settle in. Something like this. There you go. But you can put certain things back in. I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow breaking up into here. Again, take some of that, usually the bottom edge out, soften that out. So it looks like a shadow in there. Okay. Let's give this one a little bit more treatment now. But it's set up enough so I can start working a little bit more texture in that and some detail. Okay. That's a little bit of a real bright little part, a little orange up in there. I want to soften that out though. Soften it out a little bit. That's it. Yeah. There's a little bit of orange there. Now, where are we? Okay. It's really funny sometimes. I have to put my finger down so to realize that I still have something more to do in here. I'm going to just kind of define this a little bit more. I think the secret, though, is making the petals softer and then just suggesting some sharper contours. You can cut the contour up into it a little bit more. If it needs something else, like down in here, see, that needs to be broken up a little bit more in there. What I can do very easily, come back in and just take, if I don't like that shape, I just cut up into that like this. See it? And bring it out like a wedge. And that's how you work that. If it's too much blue, you can take some of the blue out, wiggle that out, and just find some more yellow here. And put some yellow back up into there. This is called mixing the paint on the surface. You put some yellow into that, wiggle it around so it turns sort of green again. That's how you fix that up. Around here, you can do the same thing. If you want to make some of the petals a little sharper, just put some little wedges back in there, clean up the edges. And that's about all you need to do there. Let's see what else. That's drying out up in there. And it's when it dries, it doesn't show up as much. So I may have to come back up and just kind of redo this with a little darker shadow in there. See how you can bring that out? Just bring it out a little bit more. Maybe a little speck in there. And again, see how that pops out a little bit more? Yeah, but you don't want to keep that edge. Just erase it out here. Take that and pull it back up into this. Sometimes you take a bigger brush and you don't have to wiggle the little brush as much. This acts like a larger brush so you don't have to wiggle it as much to soften it out. Just bring it up out there somewhere. Now let's see what else. I might need to do a little bit of sharpening here. See, that's a water stain. So if you want to clean that up, what I do here is just take, it has like a little tooth edge to it. So you can cut into that a little bit more and bring out more of the detail. But again, pull it back out like that. But you can add a little bit more detail in there. I don't know if I want that separated there. Now, remember I said about the vase, it shows up. But I'll tell you, if I make that background a little bit deeper, not the vase itself, but just do this darker, and just pull this back, see how it shows up even more, because it's a darker contrast against that. And again, what I do is just erase this, pull it right to the edge, like this, into the corner. Just soften it out. See how the vase, you can jump that out. I'm going to go up into here and do some of that, that little bushy stuff. That can be done. I just put some little dabs. Oops. I want that to show up more, so you need more paint on the brush. Go like this. Leave some little spaces in there. Kind of have it kind of go off this way, off the edge. There you go, have it fade away. And then for some of these other little glassy things, or whatever they're supposed to be, you can just kind of speckle around in there. Should drop some little specks in here. Suggest something. And yeah, you got that put back in. You might have to kind of come back in and make the stem a little stronger. Now let's do the other one. Go up into here, break it up, and then you're going to do all these little, sort of, actually it looks like little ice particles stuck on there. Just add a little texture to it. That's just tapping the brush. And that can go up that way. I think I had another one going off here, just a little sharp piece. Just a little speck. Off there. Just add something to it. There you go. Something like that. But that kind of breaks it up in there. And then you could define some of these little petals that go up. Let's give them a little bit more shadow. Not a hard edge. Let's pull that edge off. That edge can kind of be softened to the inside. Make that darker there. If you don't like that big clump here, you can sort of break that up too. Kind of make something else out of it. Make it more like there's a leaf here, something there. And break this up into here. And again, pull this back out. Kind of keep it chopped up a bit. This looks like a little bit of smudge in there. So what we want to do, come back in. You can go over it with pencil if you're not sure how you want that to go. Just take your pencil and kind of redraw it again. Just make it more defined with your drawing. And then come in with your brush and kind of go into that. See how you can kind of define that edge there. And this looks like it's a little bit open there. Let's take and close this end out here. Again, pull this away. A little bit more water. I don't want it to be too dark. Just have it fade away up into there. And, something like that. And where else? Maybe something more. Separate this in here. Let's go a little darker color here. Yeah, just separate that. Again, I want to kind of clean this up in here. A little bit stronger contrast in there. Pull this back. And that's okay. Let's see. Oh, it's really dark around here. Really. It's really out of the light down in here, so I can get real much deeper with that. Like the colors up there. Okay? And again, I want that shape. Pull it back out, or pull it up into here more. And let's see, maybe make that darker in here. Break this up a little bit more. Oh, get a little bit more paint in there. Okay, see how you can break that up in there? And I might want to have this flare out just a little bit more down into here. So let's add a little bit of something there. Just to have it kind of curl, fill in that space. Just a little, fan it out here a little bit more. You'd have another little petal or something come out. But you have to erase all of that out here. That's what really makes it, I guess. Whatever. But whatever. What else do we need? I don't know. We could show a little bit of the texture in the glass. A little bit. If you don't want it just white down in there somehow. Just a couple little dabs of paint. Now, almost getting to a point where it doesn't need a heck of a lot more done to it. It doesn't need an awful lot more done. And it's just a matter of wherever you want to break it up, sharpen it up, put some shadow in there or whatever. Look up in here. Maybe put some shadow on that petal. Again, don't leave it hard edge. Just pull this back, work that out of there. And in here, again, you can kind of soften that down. A little, oops, not that much, but just to add some color into here. Not much more. Well, there is much more, but I'm looking at the clock. But maybe we could cut something into here, do something with that, and maybe break this up a little bit more through here. I have to be careful because sometimes I just start dabbling away here and do too much. I don't like that, so I erase some of the edge on that. Soften the edges down a bit. Okay, now, this looks like it's kind of leaning that way, so what I have to do is maybe show a little bit more. I'm not doing the vase exactly the way it is. I'm going to just see if I can. That looks better if I come out here a little bit more with that. Just a little bit more into here. There you go. And now when I do that, you can take a little bit of a larger brush, pick up some of that original color, and again, you're just going to do this. You're not painting the vase itself, you're just shaping this side to kind of match the other side, and pull that back. See how that kind of brings that shape out? There you go. And then this sort of just fades away off into the corner. Now, I got to make sure that I've got enough contrast here. I could go in the background, I could kind of make this a little deeper here. Let's get a little bit more color here. See, bring that out. That could actually go to the edge there. Okay, soften that out. Come over here, soften this edge out here. Again, pull it back out. That could be reshaped or filled in more. Have this go off here. Touch the edge, touching the edge here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could have that touch, but I'm not. Let's see, what did I say? 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. If you want, you could have something like this go off here. If you wanted it to go that way. I don't like that. Erase that. Okay. Darker, maybe a little darker. maybe just a little darker to perk up the shape of the vase. Here, a little wedge there. Maybe something down in here. Okay. Now I'm not going to leave those little specks. What I'm going to do is just pull those back. Oops. A little bit too much paint there. Okay, just pull that back out. That's like, again, like I said, fade away on the side. And see what we got. That's going to show up more. Somewhat symmetrical. Don't try to make it too perfect. You can make it a vase, where you can cut out half a shape of a folded paper and open it up and get actually both sides looking the same, and then just trace it like a pattern. But I just wing it a lot of times. Just kind of, I don't want too much attention down here. Soften that up. Now, this needs a little bit of perking up through here. So I'm just going to drop some little specks in here. And put something over on this side. Let's see. Maybe show a little bit more definition, shape in here. On this leaf here. That's not too clear what that is. Kind of leave a little bit of guesswork to the viewer. Now, having said that, I'm just going to take those out, pull them back up into there, pull that out, pull this out, take a little bit out of that, take it out into here. So I want to get this thing balanced halfway decent. Now, if I have a tape around here, I have to add a little bit of color right to the tape, so that when I pull the tape off, it doesn't have like a white spot in there. You want to see that when you take the tape off, to keep it nice and clean. Okay, there's probably a little bit more I could do. I say a little, probably a lot more I could do. But this isn't bad for the amount of time we worked on it. I don't know if I want, no, I don't want that. I don't want that in there. Yeah, take it out, erase it. Yeah. Okay. Get that, soften that out. Yeah, okay. Now, we are getting down to that magic time when we got to start thinking about cleaning up a bit here. Whatever you want to do with the background, if you want to add something, break it up like a piece of cloth coming in, you could probably do that. Oops, need more paint than water. Okay, you could kind of break up the background like that. You could go a little bit darker in the corners, if you want to do that. Just go around this, kind of act like a shadow background. So you can go a little bit darker into here or there. It still probably could use a little bit more, kind of a little bit more color into here. Kind of pull that out. Maybe a little bit more pink into here. Kind of drop it around. Here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. Well, yeah. You kind of get the idea of it anyways. But now we're running out of time, so very carefully I put the tape on, and the mat is a kind of a false mat here. Remove the tape. Kind of remove the tape. Don't tear it straight up, but on a 45-degree angle so you don't damage the surface of your watercolor paper. Take all that off of there. There we go. Whoops. There. Get that piece out of your way. And come across here. That got a little bit bumpy under there. That's all right. You get the idea. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Now, if you don't have room on this side to sign it, you just sign it over here. I use sometimes a pencil or a pen. And just put my name across there. And that's it for this day. All right, there you go. Now, again, I'm just using that as a reference. It's certainly, if you had more time, you could kind of give it a little bit more, detail. And they call it definition, I guess that's another word for it. But you could cut into here, make the edges of the petals a little stronger. But that just gives you an idea, the painting, okay? So, it's pretty much time up, so what I always kind of try to fit in, brushes up, time's up, and we'll see you next time, okay? So, and happy painting.